Welcome to Declare's Delight for Life. Hi, I'm Andrea, the Sensible Lady, and co-founder and CEO of Declare's Delight for Life. I'd like to welcome you. I help with the sensible back end sensible and help you declutter the clutter in your life, like so many of us have to deal with. I Tonight is about neat, tidy, and a sensible life. Many of us, sometimes wonder, how do we have a neat life? How do we have a tidy life? And how do we keep it sensible? For a lot of folks, when we don't have such a sensible life, life can be rather untidy and unsensible and not neat. And the one of the key things I'd like to do is, what is the neat and a tidy, sensible life? Well, for me, establishing a regular schedule and knowing that I can live a life is one of the first steps I found to having a neat and tidy, sensible life, and realizing that life was too short. And as far as I had to realize that I had to clean up my physical space first before I could have anything else, because my physical space, being a former hoarder myself, was a mess. And in a sense, looking at my home as a mess was like looking at my life as being in a mess, and cleaning up that mess allowed me to clean up my life. And so, that's one of the biggest factors. And as time goes on, I'm going to be talking a little more about how we can make things a little more neat around the home. But for tonight, we're going to kind of get a broad view about a neat and tidy and sensible life. Well, like I was talking about, a neat life, we always think of it, neat life, maybe hospital corners on our beds or some things like that. But it's not necessarily all that really makes a neat life. What makes for a neat life is a life that has purpose, and purpose is so important. And I know I have a purpose statement myself, and I find that a wonderful way to guide my life. And when I can guide my life that way, it makes for a life that has a lot more meaning. And when I have that, life seems like its ability to be able to do more, and it's a little more neat, and it's kind of like having boundaries around one's life. And then if we were to look at being tidy is knowing where we're going in life, living in the present moment, realizing that that we don't have to live in the past, is that one of the things that a lot of us do, and we have a difficulty doing that, and we don't always have to be that way. And I know for myself, it's really easy to live in the past and have difficulties being there. But one of the coolest things I do find is that when I do deal with difficulties is to face them head on, thus being able to have a neat and tidy life, because I do face things head on. And then that makes for a better life itself. And thinking about a sensible life, well, what is a sensible life to you? Everybody's definition of sensible is not necessarily mine. Me, as far as I'm sensible, is having respect and dignity for each of us as human beings, and such to me is quite sensible. And to me is very much of a baseline kind of thing. And if you can throw in love and compassion with that, to me that's a wonderful kind of thing if you could think about being sensible. And to me, that throws right in nicely with neat and tidy. How do we carry out these things? How do we carry out being neat and tidy and sensible? One of the greatest things I can, if you got a pencil and paper, and if you want to jot this down, is that, I'm going to give you three different things here and three different separate questions. So get ready with your pencils and paper and write them down. Is that one, what do you want out of your life? What's the main reason you want to see life happen and have a better life? And two, how do you want to see that happen? And three, what is it going to take to make that happen? And that is pretty simple, but those are broad ranging questions that a lot of us as human beings ask ourselves on a constant basis. And, if we really to think about all that, it's usually a big thing about transformation if we can go through and be able to do such things. And, one of the things I would also like to take you guys through is possibly a little bit of a guided meditation. And if you are out there and are willing to take a leap of faith, as I like to call it, is that I'd like you to close your eyes. Yes, close your eyes. Just imagine, close your eyes, and imagine what you would think of as a neat, tidy, and sensible life. Is it a life that's full of family? Is it a life full of fun and laughter? Is it a life of travel? Meeting exciting places and people and doing all sorts of crazy things. Imagine, what would be your ultimate dream? Imagine that. What is your ultimate dream? Think of that. I'm going to be quiet now for just a few seconds, and I want you to think of what your ultimate dream is, and that should be, something very special. And so here I go. So, what did you come back as? What did you come back as your dream? Because when you have a dream, life can be more neat and tidy and sensible, because you know what? You have something you want to shoot for in life. And that's a beautiful thing, if you think about it, is if you have a dream that makes life a whole lot better and able to have things happen that you may have happen. We may have different dreams for different sections of our life, but if you got that dream, you'd be surprised about, on able to make it happen. And, how many times do we let people talk us out of our dreams? I'm here to talk you into your dream, because I'm here at Declares Delightful Life. To me, part of the, clutter of life is what we hear from other folks around us. And sometimes we have to listen to our own inner voice. And when we listen to our own inner voice, and sometimes that's our most important voice that we need to listen to, I like to call my own inner voice in conjunction with what I believe in, and working in conjunction, with everything I'm doing. And, that little still voice can, it can be based on knowledge, experience, whatever you believe in. And I call it my gut. And when I listen to my gut, I usually find that it's right most of the time. But when I listen to my head is not necessarily there. And, it doesn't necessarily have my dreams happening. And when that's happening, so when having a neat, tidy, and sensible life, you got to have a dream. You got to be willing to have a dream, because by having a dream, you have something to shoot for. And usually a lot of other things fall in alignment when that happens. And I want you guys to see things that way. So, when we went through that little exercise before, I want you, to think back to that, and, and put that, in a little corner of your mind and keep it there. Even when you're faced with something difficult in life, remember that, because it'll carry you through, things that may not necessarily, be as, easy to get through. But sometimes if you have something to shoot for, then life doesn't necessarily have to seem so difficult, and you're able to move forward when everything else may seem haywire. But it's a beautiful thing. Even if you've dealt with a lot of difficulties in life, it doesn't mean you can't make something of your life. It doesn't, no matter where you come from. And I can tell you from experience, because you know what? We all have to smile, and we all have to live life. And I think one of the greatest things that we can do to carry out a neat and tidy and sensible life is to love ourselves. And if you have to think about that, and you have to love and take care of yourself, then you know you are having a neat and tidy life, and that your life is less cluttered if you can do that. And with that, I wish you a great Declares Delight for life. Have hope and peace and tranquility. And you can reach me on Messenger, or you can email me at ddflrocks at gmail.com. That's ddflrocks at gmail.com, or you can messenger me. And I definitely look forward to hearing from you, and be on the watch for some great stuff coming out for you. And because I'm here to lend a hand, whatever, because I'm here to help and serve you. And blessings to you all, and have a great night.